You just know you feel heavy. You just know you need to leave. You just know that something in that space is draining you in a way that has nothing to do with the music or the crowd, and everything to do with the invisible emotional current running through every single person in it. That's not oversensitivity. That's a level of emotional intelligence most people will never access. Now, I want to tell you something about your brain that might genuinely change the way you see yourself. There's a chemical called dopamine. You've probably heard of it. It's the brain's reward signal. When something good happens, dopamine fires and says, "More of that." For a lot of people, especially those who come alive in social situations, dopamine gets triggered by external stimulation. New people, loud environments, constant activity, the energy of a crowd. Their brain rewards them for seeking that out, which is why they genuinely love it. Why they leave a party feeling energized instead of hollow. Your brain runs on something different. There's another chemical called acetylcholine. And unlike dopamine, it doesn't need a room full of people to fire. It activates during introspection, during deep focus, during long quiet stretches where you're thinking through something complex, sitting with a feeling, letting your mind move slowly through an idea, the way you might turn something over in your hands to understand every angle of it. When you're alone, truly alone, not lonely but peacefully solitary, your brain is actually in a state of reward. The problem isn't that you're broken. The problem is that you've been handed a reward system that the loudest parts of the world don't know how to recognize. Society tells you that the extrovert's experience is the correct one, that the person who can't wait to get back out there is thriving, and the person who can't wait to get back home is struggling. But neuroscience disagrees. Studies show that introverted, highly sensitive brains have denser gray matter in the prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain responsible for deep thinking, emotional processing, and complex decision-making. When you're sitting quietly, doing what looks like nothing, your brain is actually working hard, connecting things, processing experiences, making meaning out of what others walked right past. You're not escaping life when you retreat into solitude. You are, in every real sense of the word, living more of it. Here's the moment I want you to actually pause on. Think about the last time you were in a crowd and felt that overwhelming urge to leave. Not because anything bad was happening, not because anyone was unkind. Just that pull, that almost physical sensation, that whisper that said this isn't right. I need to go. Most people, when they feel that, immediately think something is wrong with them. But what if that feeling isn't a malfunction? What if it's actually information? Your nervous system has been carefully calibrated by something far older than modern party culture. Far older than the pressure to show up, be seen, and perform connection on cue. What you're feeling in those moments isn't a social flaw. It's a signal. A very intelligent, very ancient signal that says the environment you're in right now is demanding more than it's giving, and you are allowed to protect your energy. The most sophisticated systems in the world have built-in limits. The most powerful computers overheat when they're asked to do too much for too long. Your sensitivity isn't a weakness in the system. It's the system working exactly as it should. But I want to be honest with you about something, because this isn't just about celebrating being an introvert or being sensitive. This is about something harder. Sometimes the reason you hate crowded places isn't just about your brain chemistry. Sometimes it's about what crowded places represent to you emotionally. Crowds mean performance. They mean you have to show up as the version of yourself that's easy and fun and unbothered. And if you've spent years feeling like the real version of you was too much, too intense, too quiet, too deep, too hard to understand, then crowds don't just feel overwhelming. They feel like a test you're not sure you can pass. And that quiet dread before the party? Sometimes it's not just sensory overload. Sometimes it's the fear of being seen and still somehow feeling invisible. That's worth sitting with, because there's a difference between choosing solitude from a place of peace and choosing it from a place of hiding. The first one is wisdom. The second one, while completely understandable, is something worth gently examining. You are allowed to prefer quiet. You are allowed to need space. You are allowed to be someone who finds more meaning in one real conversation than in 100 forgettable ones. But you also deserve to be known. Not by everyone, not in loud rooms with background music and drinks in hand, but by someone. In the quiet, where you actually make sense. Here's what I want you to take away from all of this. The world is very loud right now. It rewards performance and visibility and constant social proof of being alive and happy and connected. And if you're someone who can't genuinely access that, it is very easy to start believing you're failing at something everyone else has figured out. You're not. You are not failing at life because you prefer depth over volume. You are not broken because a crowded room costs you something it doesn't seem to cost others. You are not behind because you need silence to function, because you process everything more slowly and more deeply, because you feel things in ways that don't translate easily into small talk. You are wired for something specific, something that has always been necessary, even when it hasn't always been celebrated. The people who notice what others miss. The people who feel what others can't name. The people who think long after everyone else has moved on. The people who would rather say something real than something easy. Those people have always mattered. In every era, in every kind of world. You just happen to live in one that forgot to tell you. So the next time the phone buzzes and the plans are made and everyone else seems ready and you are already dreading it, don't shame yourself into going. Don't perform your way through an evening that costs you 3 days to recover from. But also, don't disappear completely. Find the one person in the room worth talking to. Find the corner where the noise softens. Find the moment that's actually real in the middle of all the performance. Because you're not meant to live entirely alone with all that depth. You're meant to find the people who speak your language. They're out there. Probably also wondering why everyone else seems so comfortable in crowds. You walked in. The music was loud. The laughter was louder. And everyone looked like they were exactly where they were supposed to be. And you stood there in the middle of all of it, feeling completely and utterly alone. Not because nobody talked to you, but because something inside you just wanted out. And you didn't know why. You've felt this before. That quiet dread before a party. The relief when plans get canceled. The exhaustion after being around people, even people you love. And somewhere along the way, you started wondering if something was wrong with you. There isn't, but the real reason this keeps happening, nobody's ever actually explained it to you. Until now. Picture last weekend. Your phone lights up. It's a group chat. Everyone's going downtown tonight. That new place just opened. It's packed. The vibe is insane. You have to come. And for about 3 seconds, you tried. You really tried to feel excited. You opened your closet, you stared at it, you closed it. You sat on the edge of your bed and thought about the noise, the bodies pressed together, the small talk you'd have to survive, the face you'd have to wear all night just to seem like you were having fun. And then you texted back, maybe next time, and felt this strange cocktail of relief and guilt all at once. Relief, because you didn't have to go. Guilt, because you felt like you should want to. That guilt is a lie, and I want to spend the next few minutes dismantling it completely. Because what's happening inside you in those moments isn't weakness. It isn't social anxiety, shyness, or some personality defect that needs fixing. It's actually your brain doing something extraordinary. Something most people's brains simply aren't wired to do. And once you understand it, you will never apologize for it again. Let's start with something most people have never heard of, because the way it's been described in psychology textbooks makes it sound clinical and cold. But what it actually describes is one of the most fascinating things a human brain can do. It's called sensory processing sensitivity. Forget the label. Here's what it actually means in real life. Most people walk into a crowded room and their brain does what it's supposed to do. It filters. It decides what matters and throws out the rest. The flickering light in the corner? Ignored. The conversation happening 3 tables away? Background noise. The subtle tension between 2 people across the room? Completely invisible. Their brain works like a bouncer at a club. Most things don't get in. Your brain. Your brain lets everything in. Every conversation layered on top of another. Every shift in someone's tone. Every forced laugh that sounds just a little too rehearsed. Every face that's smiling but whose eyes are somewhere else entirely. You're not choosing to notice all of this. You can't turn it off. It's happening automatically, constantly, all at once. It's like everyone else is watching the world in standard definition, and you're running it in full 8K with the volume turned all the way up. And nobody asked if you wanted that. Research suggests that about 1 in 5 people experiences the world this way. That's not a small number, but it can feel incredibly isolating because the other 4 people around you have no idea what it's like inside your head. They think you're quiet. They think you're distant. They think you just don't want to have fun. They don't know that you're already processing 10 times more than they are just by standing in the same room. But here's where it gets deeper, because it's not just about noise or lights or crowds. It goes beneath all of that. You don't just notice what's happening around you, you notice what's being hidden. In a room full of people, most of them are performing. Not maliciously, just the way humans do when they're around others. They're showing the version of themselves they think is acceptable. The confident one, the unbothered one, the happy one, the one who has it all together. And somewhere underneath the performance, you can feel the gap between who they're pretending to be and who they actually are. That gap exhausts you, not because you're judging them. You're not. You actually feel for them. You sense the tiredness behind the smile, the loneliness inside the laughter, the quiet anxiety humming just below the surface of someone who looks completely fine. You feel all of it as if it were your own. Psychologists call this high empathic sensitivity, but forget the terminology. What it means is this: you don't just see people, you absorb them. Walk into a party feeling okay, and 30 minutes later you're carrying the emotional weight of a room full of strangers without even realizing that's what happened.